Happy Father's Day, everyone. Happy Father's Day. My goodness, especially all of you great, wonderful fathers out there. You know, Father's Day is very, very special. It's a bittersweet day for me in church, particularly because as we sing the songs, I think about songs that my dad loved. As we hear the preaching, it seems like I just think about my dad a lot. I have the same problems on Mother's Day. It's just kind of bittersweet. The memories flood my mind, and I shed a lot of tears in church on Father's Day. But I can't do anything but smile when I think about my dad. You great dads out there that have done so much, that have raised your kid in a godly manner, you're not only a great father, you're a great grandfather, a great great grandfather, many of you, and you're just so important. You're just so very important. So happy Father's Day, especially to all you dads out there. Happy Father's Day, and I hope you have a spectacular day today. It's summertime here in Oklahoma. Hot. I'm trying to stand in the shade, catch a little bit of a cool breeze. You know, one of the things that happens in southern Oklahoma is the hotter it gets, the less breeze we get. We kind of pray for a little bit of breeze over here. We've been blessed with quite a bit of rain this month. Actually, May is the rainiest month of the year. And it didn't rain that much in May this year. In fact, we were down a little bit in rain, but it rained more in June. We've had, and we're actually up to what we have now here at the Twin Eagle Ranch rain-wise. It took us clear down to about, I think, October 24th to get to where we are now. October was, I believe, our rainiest month last year. Historically, October is one of the rainiest months, so we're looking forward to it. And we still haven't got the other lake over here filled up, but Twin Eagle is in good shape. But happy Father's Day. I hope you're having a spectacular day with your kids and your grandkids, great-grandkids, and whomever. It's just Father's Day is so special. My dad was just absolutely the world to me. There's no doubt about it. I've turned into my dad, like, you know, you're told as you're a kid, you're going to turn into your dad. You're going to turn into your dad. And then they start telling you are turning into your dad. Going through the house, turning lights off and stuff like that. Telling kids to clean their plates up because kids all over the world are starving to death. All kinds of that kind of stuff that happens. But dads are very, very special. I did see somewhere on the news where Mother's Day, there's $37 billion spent. I assume that's here in America only. $37 billion spent on gifts for Mother's Day. That's right, $37 billion. How much is spent for Father's Day? $22 billion. That's right, yeah. So it's about 60% less. I guess you'd start at 22. That's 15 billion more. So that's about 70% more that we spend for mamas. And mamas are very, very special, very important. I want to agree to that. I don't know exactly why that happens. I think that one of the things that you ladies let us know what you need. You could give us a list of some things that you would love to have for Mother's Day. And us guys, something we really want, we probably save up and go buy it ourselves. I know I've been really guilty about that. So we are harder to buy for. I know that. So I'm not throwing rocks at any of you kids out there not buying your dads quite as much stuff or spending as much as you do on your mama. Probably was guilty of doing that myself. I don't know. My buddy Johnny Morris, who owns Bass Pro Shop and founded Bass Pro Shop and owns Bass Pro Shop in Cabela's, White River Marine, Ranger boats, tracker boats, nitro boats. He's running an ad on television right now. Johnny's a big believer in television advertising, and he's been with us for forever. I mean, for years and years and years. We've been running, run a Ranger boat forever. I've run a tracker boat for over 25 years, and he's running an ad on television right now. It's got a song in there, Me and Dad, and at the end of that show, and Johnny loved his dad. His name was John also. His son's name John Paul, JP. And at the end of that, it says, Dad always had time to take me fishing. Dad always had time to take me fishing. And I have a dad just like that. I had a dad just like that. He always had time to take me fishing. And Johnny takes his kids fishing. He's always had time to take John Paul fishing, really all over the world. And John Paul's been very blessed with that. He takes his daughters fishing. Now he's taking his grandkids fishing. And I can tell you, Johnny's having more fun now taking his grandkids fishing than he is his kids. I got grandkids coming down here for 4th of July week, and I can't hardly wait. And these grandkids are teenagers. They're not little bitty grandkids, and so they're a lot of fun to run around with. They're a lot of fun to have down here. Lightning and thunder and stormy, they're going to be here, and it's going to be just We're going to shoot some firecrackers off. We'll fire some guns out, but we're going to do a lot of fishing that week too. It's going to be hot. 4th of July week will probably be 100 degrees. We've got 100-degree weather forecast here in Oklahoma right now. And lots of rain here in June. Had big storms coming through here last night. We got another inch of rain here at the Eagle last night. We have 22 inches, 22.1 to be exact for 2023. I've talked about my dad a little bit through the years over here on our show here on the social media, as well as Jimmy Houston Outdoors Television, and we have a Jimmy Houston Outdoors Fishing channel on YouTube. If you're not subscribed to that channel, we broke that channel off from our ranch channel, which is now just simply called Jimmy Houston and Jimmy and Chris Houston's Twin Eagle Ranch, and Jimmy Houston Outdoors Fishing is a separate channel. It's all fishing. So if you're not on that channel, only about 7,000 people over there on that channel now. We just started it a few months ago, but if you want to see the fishing parts, we're over there, and we're talking about, I'm going to talk about fishing here before I end this chat, but the fishing right now, there's something going on that's really, really important. I'll tell you exactly how deep to fish. And we've been doing a little bit of fishing. This week I didn't get to fish any except off the pier a little bit. I caught a few fish off the pier. One evening I caught 5. That's the best I've done. One evening I caught 1. So I try to go down there a little bit right before dark and make a few throws. And just because it's a good thing to be doing. And you remember, God does not hold against you. This is not biblical, by the way. God does not hold against you the days that you spend fishing. So Bible tells us we do have an allotted number of days that God has given us as we travel through this earth, this life on this earth, before we go into eternal life with Him. But He doesn't hold it against you. So I figure I might have only had enough days allocated to me to live to be 15, 16 years old. I don't know. Certainly nearly got killed several times when I was a teenager. A couple of times this close to dying. So if I go fishing a little, I may only have 1 day left. So I'm going to just keep on fishing. So if you hear somewhere that Jimmy died, he didn't die fishing. Yeah, that'll be, might die the day after I went fishing, but not the day that I was fishing. So, but the fishing is, we'll talk about fishing here before I end this chat, but I wanted to talk just a little bit about my dad, because I've mentioned him a lot throughout the years on our television show and in social media. I mentioned my dad because things that he said and taught me that come up in my mind as I go through my life. Fishing, like Johnny Morse's deal. Dad always had time to take me fishing. The earliest pictures I've seen of me, other than those little portrait deals where you're sitting in your little pretty outfit on a stool, and they take a picture of you at the portrait studio, are with my mom and dad out on the riverbank. And I was born in San Marcos, Texas. My dad was in the Air Force during the war. And I didn't live in San Marcos too long. As soon as he got out of the Air Force, he moved back to the Oklahoma City area, around Moore, and that's where I was raised till we moved down to Lake Tenkiller. But the earliest pictures of me are on the riverbank. I suppose the Brazos River down there, maybe some of the other rivers and tributaries in that San Marcos, Texas area, which is down around Austin, Texas, in that area there. A lot of really good fishing down there. But the pictures of me walking around in diapers on a creek bank and on a river bank, and my mom carrying me, but my dad fishing and my mom fishing. So my dad not only always had time to take me fishing, he always carried me fishing forever. And I've done the same with my kids and grandkids and great-grandkids. I've always had time to take them fishing. And that's one of the great things you can do. 2 things that my dad did. He carried me fishing, he carried me to church. And I don't care where you carry your kids, those are 2 great places to carry them right there. You can actually do it the same day. And yeah, we fished a lot Sunday afternoons. We certainly did. But my dad carried me fishing. He carried me to church. And my dad, I've talked about him quite a bit over the years on but little things. He had a 7th grade education. Whether he actually finished the 7th grade or not, I have no idea. I have no idea. I know that he dropped out of school to get a job and help feed the family, to feed his brothers and sisters and his mom and dad. And it was very difficult to have enough, and so he dropped out of school and went to work. And I remember that as a young kid, he drove a taxi cab there in Oklahoma City. My granddad drove a taxi cab also. I thought they were rich. Yeah, I did. And the reason I thought they were rich is because they would bring home pockets full of money. You're rich if you got pockets full of money, right? I was a little kid, but we had a big round table, a dining room table. We had my grandma and granddad had a round one at their house because they had all the kids and grandkids over a lot. They just lived out 4 or 5 houses away from us and down the block. And I spent more time there than I did at home a lot. But my mom and dad, we had a not a square, but a rectangular table. But Dad would come home from work and he would throw all this money out there on that table, and they would count it, you know, and kind of figure out what they could use, I guess, to buy groceries and pay the bills. My granddad would do the same thing, driving a taxi cab. I guess though that was tips they were receiving. There was nickels and dimes and quarters and half a dollars. Yeah, that's right. Half a dollar, by the way, for those of you who've never seen one, is worth 2 quarters. That's right, it's worth 50 cents. And a dollar, they had silver dollars. My dad kept a lot of those silver dollars. He had a really good silver dollar collection, which I have now. He passed that on to me, and I'll probably just pass it on to Jamie. They're probably worth a lot more than $1 a piece. Just the silver in them is probably worth quite a bit now. But some people would give $1 tip. That was a big tip back then. I guarantee you somebody gave $1. So when he got a silver dollar, it was a big deal. It was a big deal. Now, they didn't have a lot of money, but it seemed like to me it was a lot of money because there's all that change. But my dad went to work as a cookie salesman. For a company called LD Jones Food Company there in Oklahoma City, and it was a big distributor, wholesale food distributing company. They distributed foods to the grocery stores around the Oklahoma City area, Moore and Norman, Purcell, Pauls Valley, Lexington, Edmond, Mustang, all around the Oklahoma, Choctaw, Crooked Oak, all around the Oklahoma City area. And he drove a cookie truck. That's how he started. He drove a cookie truck. He would go out to the stores. He would go in and sell the store owner or whoever their buyer was buying, sell them cookies, and he would actually stock the shelves. He would carry them in a van truck, and he would put them on a two-wheeler and wheel them in, and open the box up, take them out, mark them with a price marker, and put them up on the shelf. And they also started selling salad dressings and pickles and some various other items. And my dad started doing that, driving that truck. And he worked his way up in that company until he was working inside the office because he knew a lot about it. And he worked his way up until he was actually running the company. They called him a general manager, if my recollection is correct. But he was a general manager. He was what would be today called a CEO or a president of that company, because Mr. Jones, LD Jones, had some sort of illness that made him bedridden after a while. I assume it might have been cancer. I was young, you know, we left there, and my dad bought a resort on Lake Tenkiller when I was 16 years old, between my junior and senior year in high school. And I remember sitting at the dinner table like we did every evening. My sister Bobby and myself and my mom and dad had dinner every evening. Even though my mom worked all day, my dad worked all day. When Dad come home, Mom had dinner ready, and we had a family dinner like a lot of families don't have anymore, but every family needs to have. It's very important. We talk about what happened in our day, my sister's day, my mom's day, my dad's day, and we listen to adult conversations, which is pretty cool for a little kid to get to do. And but I remember when my dad went down to I remember when he saw in the newspaper that the Cookson store was for sale, and he told my mom, and I saw it on a Sunday morning paper before we went to church, and he said, the Cookson store is for sale. Why don't we go down there next weekend and try to buy that? And I thought, wow, would that be great to live on Lake Tenkiller? I love Lake Tenkiller. I started going there. We started going there in 1956 when they built the lake. When they built it, that's when we started going. I was 12 years old. And so we went down there the following weekend, and my dad made a deal for it. And so I remember, I don't know what it was, a week or two later, probably, or 3 or 4 weeks later, I remember sitting at the dinner table and my mom asking Dad, honey, have you told LD Jones that you're going to quit and move to Lake Tenkiller? He said, as a matter of fact, hon, I told him today. And she said, what did he say? And my heart sunk when I heard that conversation, because it had not entered on my mind that might not happen. My dad had made a deal, my mom and dad had made a deal to buy that place, and man, we were moving to the lake. As soon as I was out of school, Bobby and I was out of school at the end of May, we were moving to the lake. We was going to spend the whole summer living on a lake, the rest of our lives living on a lake. And so my heart sunk when she said, what did he say? And I wondered what Dad would say, and then when Dad said what he said, my heart really sunk. Dad said, he told me to name my price. She said, what? He said, yes, name my price. Whatever it took for me to stay and run that food company, he would pay. Whatever salary I needed. And I like to die. And she said, what did you tell him? He said, I told him that we were moving to Lake Tenkiller. And it obviously changed my life for the better. And it changed my mom and dad's life. It changed the entire family's life. It changes everything when you make a monumental move like that. But my dad, with a 7th grade education, had gone from driving a taxi cab, gone from being a pilot in the Air Force to Well, he wasn't. He actually became a pilot in the Air Force. And he didn't fly in the war. He didn't have to be one sent overseas or anything. Stationed in Texas, for Oklahoma, that might have been a war. I don't know. But we fished a lot down there. We had a lot of fun. He did. I just see the pictures of it. I don't remember any of that. I'm sure I was reeled in a catfish when I was 2 years old or something. I don't know. But anyway, he goes from the Air Force to driving a taxi cab to driving a cookies truck and selling cookies to, and my mom started as a checker in a grocery store and worked her way up into the office until she was running the entire accounting systems and bookkeeping in a grocery store. So they both went from menial jobs and stayed with those companies to very important jobs. And my dad to a job where the owner of that company says, name your price. And I've not had anybody tell me that in my lifetime. Name your price, Jimmy. We don't want to lose you. Name your price. Nobody's ever told me that. But it was remarkable with a seventh grade education to do that. And my dad has formulated and shaped everything that I've done in my life. My dad carried me fishing. As Johnny Morse's song says, Dad always had time to carry me fishing. My dad always took me to church. That is the two most important things you can do for your sons and daughters, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren. If your sons and daughters are not taking their kids to church and taking them fishing, do it. Do it. You can actually do both on a Sunday. You can take them to church and then take them fishing on a Sunday. That's exactly right. So that's two of the most important things, maybe the most important thing that you can do for your kids. Everybody wants to give their kids things. The things that your kids need is your time. And they have your time when you take them fishing, when you take them to church. It's just amazing. Many, back in my younger days, all the families in the neighborhood pretty much carried their kids to church. Some of them fished, some of them didn't. And those generations raised great Americans, people that love America. They didn't raise kids that's burning down O'Reilly Auto Parts stores and Targets. They didn't raise kids that burned American flags. They didn't raise kids that hated people because of their color. They raised kids that loved each other. They raised kids that respected each other. They raised kids that respected mom and dad, respected everybody, respected each other, loved each other. So taking your kids to church, taking your kids fishing, thank you, Dad. Thank you, Mom. Thank you for doing that. Wish a very happy Father's Day to everybody out there. You fathers are more special than you can ever imagine, You know me, I don't like to throw rocks at anybody. I just don't like to do that. I'd probably have a lot more people on their social media channels if I got a little bit more controversial, but I just don't. I'm just not a controversial type person. I have very deep beliefs about a lot of things and a lot of things in this country, and I probably ought to be throwing it out there and probably triple or quadruple the amount of people we out following us on social media, but we have the best people following us on social media. But I had a little situation happen today after church I just got to share with you because it sort of tells you a little bit about where we are in this country right now and the direction that this country is going. My daughter Sherry had ordered a big grocery order for us to pick up at Walmart after church. We go to church, we start our church at 10:30 to 11:30. That's the main service. And so we're out at 11:30, and we dilly-dally around and visit with the preacher and the families and various friends we have at church. Just talk to them a little bit. People got talking about the fawns, not having many fawns yet. See any fawns on their places this time of the year. They seem to be a little late this time of the year. And I told Chris, I said, listen, why don't we, Chris, of course, is still in a wheelchair, so she doesn't like to get in and out of the truck that much. And so I told her, I said, why don't we pull by the chicken spites? We do not have a Popeyes or a Kentucky Fried Chicken in Sulphur, Oklahoma. We have got a Golden Chick. And I'm not particularly fond of Golden Chick. I've eaten at some of them around the country, particularly in Texas. There's some really good ones down there. But we don't have churches, and I like Popeyes better than any of them, probably because of the beans and rice. I really like Kentucky Fried Chicken as well. I ate a lot of chicken, but Chris doesn't particularly like the one we have here. But anyway, I do not do drive-thrus very often. I'm trying to do them more and more all the time. again, because of Chris and being in a wheelchair, and so I try to do drive-throughs. But I like to go in and order. I like to just talk to and give an order to a real person, you know, rather than talking to a robot in a box. And so I parked. I told Chris, I said, I'll run in and get us some chicken. So I run in there and I ordered, and I don't know if it was 8 or 10 piece box, whatever they have. And I said, I'll take the eight. I think it was 8. It might have been 10, but I'll take that box, and I'll have and I ordered 2 sides with it. And she said, well, our box, our family, is that the family meal you're ordering? I said, yes, ma'am. And she said, it only comes with 1 side. So I told her what side I wanted. And I got my credit card out, and I was getting ready to hand her and she told me whatever it was, 30 some, and ordered large iced tea to go with it. And she said, I got ready to hand her my credit card, and I said, can you put a couple of plates in there and maybe a couple of spoons or forks or something? And she said, we don't. She said, well, she asked me, and that's what made me think of it. She asked me, she said, is this for here or to go? And I said, that's to go, please. And I said, okay. I said, oh, by the way, I said, be sure and put a couple of paper plates in there, or a couple of plates, and a knife or a spoon or a fork or something, so we can eat the sides. And she said, we don't give paper plates to go orders. I said, really? I said, well, we're eating at the park down here. We have a beautiful national park at Sulphur, Oklahoma. It's a great park. Thousands of people come there every week. Beautiful park. I mean, it's incredible. If you haven't been to the national park in Sulphur, Oklahoma, you ought to go. It's just fantastic. Do not drive over 25 miles an hour in there. I've just warned you about that. They're serious when they say 25 miles an hour in there. But you need to be driving slow because there's a lot of deer. You can look at the deer and look at the beautiful scenery, and they keep that park immaculate. It's great. One of my friends takes care of it up there some. But anyway, I said, we're going to eat at the park, so we don't want to eat the sides with. And she said, we don't give plates on to-go orders. And I said, oh, okay, fine, it's fine. Just cancel the order. And so we go down to Sonic and order Sonic for probably $15 cheaper, and ate a couple burgers and some tots and cherry limeade. But the thing that is amazing to me is where we have come in this America, where I grew up with my dad going to grocery stores. I grew up in business all my life. My dad bought a resort on Lake Tenkiller when I was 16. We were dealing with customers in business. When I graduated from college, I started an insurance agency. We're dealing with customers. I always was taught that the customer's always right. I was taught that we need to do everything we can to make that customer happy. The customer's not always right. That's just a motto that successful businessmen use. But we have come to the point in this country, maybe, I don't know why or how, maybe the COVID had something to do with it and the lockdowns and stuff like that, government control. We have come to the point in this country where somebody would rather lose a $30-some-odd chicken sale and I don't know, maybe they only make a nickel or a dime on that, I don't know, but for a couple of paper plates. We use a lot of paper plates here. I know they're expensive. I know they cost a lot, but it's amazing to me. It's amazing to me, and of course the lady, it didn't bother her. She's just working there. She's just following the company policy. I'm sure she doesn't own that place. Maybe I need to open up. I wished I'd opened up when we moved down here 20 years ago, a Popeyes or a Kentucky Fried Chicken in Sulphur, Oklahoma. I'd have probably been really wealthy by now. But maybe that's what I still need to do, is open up a Kentucky Fried or a Popeyes in the city. Now, I probably will still go back to Golden Chick in Sulphur in the future. Probably not very often. We eat there quite a bit on Sundays. I've had plates there before. I've asked them for plates before, and they've always given them to me. But they have a policy. I saw somewhere in California where companies had a policy that, in fact, the California Senate passed a law where employees can't stop anybody from stealing, shoplifting, or holding them up, robbing them. They go, here, take all the money. They can't do anything. Some employees out there got fired for calling the police when they saw people shoplifting. So we've gone to a strange way in business in this country. And I'm just saying, I guess I'm like anybody. As you get older, you think about the good old days and how good things were. And you look at the way things now and you wonder, how did we get to the point to where a country fisherman can't get a couple of paper plates to eat his sides out of in a chicken order? I mean, how did we get to that place? And is it where we want to be going? Is it where we want to be going? Will there be a day when we have to be out there cooking our own chicken, or maybe catching our own chickens and bringing them in? Anyway, I'm not throwing rocks at anybody. I mean, the folks up there, I'm proud to see them working up there. But whomever put the policy in that you can't have a paper plate with a to-go order probably needs to think about that. Personally, if I was selling chicken, I'd rather sell 30 some odd dollars worth of chicken and give them a couple of paper plates, even if those plates cost $0.25 a piece or whatever they cost. Paper plates are not that high. I buy a lot of them myself because I don't like to do dishes. I want to talk a little bit about fishing before I end this thing. The fishing is good right now. It's good right now. It's getting hotter. It's turning summertime. There's a lot of transition. You hear fishermen talking about transitional things going on now where fish is moving. But let me tell you the most important thing right now, the thermocline, the depth the thermocline is. Thermocline is a 3-degree change in water temperature. We did a video, not this week, but the week before last on it. I don't think we showed that video on our social media yet. We should be showing that real soon. It's a television show for next year's television on ESPN2 and Heartland, Discovery Channel, Pursuit Channel, WFN, Walk TV, My Family TV, AT&T Sports Southwest. We run on about a dozen different networks, and that entire show will be on there, but there'll be a little bit of that show will show up on Jimmy Houston Outdoors YouTube. So subscribe to that channel, and you'll see that, and we'll explain to you exactly what thermocline is and how to fish it. But the key to remember about thermocline is very, very simple. The fish will be generally right above that. They will not be down below it. So just because it's hot, just because our water temperature is 82 or 83 degrees and climbing, it's going to climb quite a bit this next week, look for that thermocline on your locators. Now, you do not have to have a Garmin LiveScope like I've got, big 12-inch screens, to see thermocline. You can see them on regular locators, on your down vision. You can see the thermocline. You can also see it good on forward-facing sonar, no doubt about that. But the key, our thermocline here in southern Oklahoma, depending on the lake and the areas of the lake you're in, is about 10 foot to about 14 foot. 12 is probably where most of it is, which is a mean depth. But the fish are usually about, well, they're right above it to about 4 foot above it. That's the primo area you want to fish. So if your thermocline is 12 foot, keep your fish lures around 8 to 12 foot deep. If you're fishing a crankbait, get your crankbait around 8 or 9 foot deep, you're perfect. If you're slow rolling a spinnerbait, same thing. If you're fishing a worm, do not be fishing below that thermocline. Swim your worm. Do what I call drop swim, where you're dropping it, swimming it, dropping it, swimming it, but you're keeping it above that thermocline. With a forward-facing LiveScope, you can actually see your worm, so you can kind of get the feel of how you do that and how you can keep it at that depth. But you can really whack them because they're concentrated in a very small water column area above that thermocline. And I could talk about pH cline, which is a whole nil deal, but it's right there. It's right there in the same area. We learned that years and years ago. And so the pH cline is your acid and your alkaline in the water. So, but the key deal, remember, when you see that thermocline on your locator, you want to fish above it, not below it. You get down below it, you're probably not going to hardly get a bite. So fishing deep is a good thing to do in the summertime. Right now, you're probably not going to catch much if you're fishing down below that. But where you're not going to catch much, you're fishing down below that thermocline. Make sure you know where that thermocline is. If you can't find it, if you can't see it on your locator, ask some of your friends about how deep is the thermocline right now. It changes, and it changes in different parts of the lake, particularly some of these giant lakes that we have here in Oklahoma and Texas and Arkansas and all over the South. Thermocline, very, very, very important. Fathers, again, you're so important to the great country of America. Take that responsibility and just grab a hold of it and never let go. You're important to your kids, to your grandkids, your great-grandkids. Fathers, happy Father's Day. And remember, I sure do love you.